imagine having kids on its own is enough energy for most people.
Yeah, and school was really fun because she started kindergarten last year, so now she's in first grade, and they've got her on a 504 plan so that the school has made certain special concessions just for her to help keep her safe as well. So that's, the Americans with Disabilities Act, great thing.
It really is. It really is.
And that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on here to talk science stuff, especially since you're into the immunology and such, because there's a lot of things that the junk science, and it could actually hurt someone like my daughter. And
absolutely.
So I want to make sure to educate people.
Yeah, no, I think it's super important. And just as much as debunking bad science, I like to try to make it clear that some things really are important for you to acknowledge. Like, you shouldn't always wash your hands with antibacterial soap. It's just it's a bad practice for everyone involved. That's an actual danger that you should take seriously. Or microbeads in facial cleansing products. Those are actually like a major cause of ocean pollution. And allergies are a real thing. Like, you might say that someone's gluten intolerance is fake, but if someone says that they have a gluten allergy or even a gluten intolerance, you should fucking pay attention, because people can die from allergies really easily.
Well, that's one thing that's kind of weird too, is because with my daughter, it's not a gluten allergy in and of itself. She's allergic to the wheat. There's a protein that's produced, and it's not the gluten that she's allergic to. It's an actual wheat allergy. So we still wind up shopping at the natural food store. Which annoys the heck out of me, because there's so much woo in those places. Oh my goodness.
There is, and everything's super expensive for the privilege of shopping in the woo store. But they really are great sources for people who have legitimate food allergies. I mean, I'm not going to knock anyone for eating at a natural food store if they have celiacs, for example. Like, your gluten-free options there are just going to be better.
Yeah.
If you can afford to shop there, I absolutely recommend it. I think that a lot of people in this community are inflexible about shopping at Whole Foods or whatever, but for some people it's just the right choice, and whatever the best choice for you and the health of your family is, you should make that choice.
Well, I managed to tell you why I was interested in this kind of a topic. So what inspired you to start your internet science pages, your Facebook and YouTube and such?
I get really excited about things. Like, I get peppy about stuff, and I get excited about it. And so the story I generally tell is I trolled comment section for cool science articles, and I tried. So I think some people were upset about the Arctic apple being approved, FDA approved, the non-browning GMO apple, and I understood the RNA interference pathway because I just learned it in one of my graduate school classes, and I was really excited to tell people how beautiful and elegant the science was. And people were scared. They said, no, it causes cancer. And I'm a cancer immunologist. And I thought, well, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. What are you talking about? And then my world started being opened up to chemtrails and water fluoridation and raw honey and bullshit cancer cures. And all of these things, they have really beautiful biological pathways that I just want to talk about. And people enjoy hearing about it when it's phrased the right way. And there weren't enough people phrasing it in different ways to attract different kinds of people. Everyone has their own learning style. And my way of communicating, especially when I anthropomorphize things, works really well for some people. And I want to talk to those people about this really cool stuff that I'm learning about all the time. And I happen to have found an audience. There are certain aspects of it that I don't love. I get some attention I don't enjoy all the time, and to a degree that's my fault. I went with Biology Babe as kind of a flippant. I didn't want to think about having think about a screen name, because screen names are a pain in the ass to make. So I took a subject I was comfortable talking about, biology, and a feminine noun that people were using to describe science communicators, Babe, and that became my identity online. And some people take that name a little too seriously, but overall, it's one of the best experiences of my life. I actually met my fiance doing this about a year ago.
Oh, cool.
He had a page. I thought he was a woman. He had a page called Vegetarian Vicky BS WTF PhD, something like that. It was making fun of Nutrinarian Nancy, who's since changed her page name, probably because of him. And I thought that the way he represented certain concepts was really intelligent and funny. And I've met some of my best friends online now just because we have similar interests and get passionate about the same things. And we all come from different backgrounds. So it's been an incredible experience for me.
It's amazing how that works out, isn't it?
It really is. I never would have guessed a year ago or 2 years ago that I would have any sort of social media following. Like, I'm an awkward person. When I talk to groups of people in person, and I try to do this as often as I can because I get so anxious about it, I sweat. I sweat disgustingly. My palms are sweaty, my back sweats, I'm just hot and uncomfortable. And it's hard for me to put myself out there, but online, I have this wiggle room or this breathing room where I can either edit my thoughts, or in a situation like this, there's no one staring at me. Like, there's not that same kind of pressure. And
okay,
I've been able to communicate.
I'll put some tape over your picture there. Okay, there we go.
I've been able to communicate a lot easier. It's incredible. I'm so grateful for the opportunity and that people want to listen to me. It's still mind-boggling that I just crossed 32,000 followers, and it's been
nice
a year and a half, a little bit less than a year and a half, and that's mind-boggling. It really is.
Well, now, why do you think it is, though? Because we've talked about some of the junk stuff out there that people believe, like the chemtrails and stuff. Why do you think it is that Americans, especially, have become so bad at understanding science? I mean, it used to be, we're the guys that sent people to the moon, and
allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. And now, I mean, you've got people thinking that, the gray aliens are fighting with the lizard people to elect the next president kind of thing. And what happened?
People get stuck in the mindset that it's stupid Americans, but realistically, in France, for example, woo is huge. In Romania, where my mom comes from, it's huge. It's this natural predisposition to wanting a different explanation than what the man is giving you. I can see that science is nuanced. More than anything, science is nuanced, where we're talking about allergies, and yeah, gluten allergies in general for a lot of people are bullshit, but there are cases where they're really serious. And that can be true for anything. I mean, you could say that I'd say that GMOs are safe, but in certain circumstances, if the wrong person inserted the wrong gene, it might not be safe. And I'm totally for regulation because there are cases where this is not a great technology. The technology itself is great, but the applications can be varied. So it's a nuanced approach, and people don't like thinking about nuance, especially if there's an option where they think, well, I'm safe now. I can block out all of this new scary stuff. And after it's tested on other people or whatever, it'll be fine, or we don't need this. When I think it's a flawed perspective where you think that the life that you're living now is the best possible life. Or if you are sick or obese or you have autoimmune issues, you're looking for an answer. And since science can't give you a yes or no, this is what caused it, and woo can, it doesn't necessarily have to be true for it to be attractive. There are a lot of different aspects of it that are appealing, and I think most of us once upon a time believed a lot of this bullshit that organic food was safer. That clicked with me when after I started talking about GMOs, I asked my friend, is organic food actually healthier for you? He ran through some studies and said, no, it actually might be worse for you. I started reading into it, and that made me furious because I had just assumed. And when I started thinking about it, even if organic meant it was grown without pesticides, which it doesn't, even if it meant it was grown without pesticides, that makes no fucking sense because plants produce pesticides against themselves. Humans are a minor target for most things in the animal kingdom. Plants and insects are constantly at warfare with each other, trying to reproduce. There's always competition for resources. And so pesticide is such a broad category that it can mean a plant trying to kill weeds that are growing to block its sunlight, or a pesticide could be a compound that a plant puts out to prevent insects from eating its leaves, like nicotine. Mm-hmm. Nicotine is a natural pesticide. It makes no sense to say something doesn't have pesticides. And when you start thinking about those like really basic concepts, every marketing scheme just deteriorates because it makes no sense with these nuances. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I could go on about this for ages, but I think the overarching theme, or the message I'd like to get across, is that it's not that people are stupid. It's not that they're necessarily gullible. It's that these are hard concepts. They're not yes or no. They're not black and white. They're not easy to get if you don't spend time thinking about them. And some people aren't interested. I'd like to make things more appealing. I like making things funny or silly or crass just because it gets a new audience interested.
Okay.
I don't mind using the babe thing, like my face, to attract followers, because it is good. In the end, it is good for people to hear more about science and how it works and to be excited and to think it's cool. I'd rather take the not so nice comments sometimes to put forward good programming, I guess, good content.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it does make sense.
Yeah, no, I get excited. You could tell I get excited. I word vomit, and in person that can be a really unattractive quality coming out of a lady you are speaking to about science in this kind of Facebook world where I am the biology babe. I have a sort of authority, and people pay attention to me all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of lucky in that, for the most part, if you're an expert in a certain field, I don't really pay attention to your gender or your sex as far as what that comes from. I mean, if you are someone that knows what you're talking about, I'm going to listen. I mean, it never made sense to me to think that someone would not be as smart as another person just because they're a woman or just because of anything else. So, you know, when I stumbled on your page by accident, probably about 6 months ago, I think I was like, well, hey, that's kind of a neat little gimmick. Let's check out what she's doing, because at this time I was following the Credible Hulk, and
Matt is a good friend of mine.
Yep.
He's been hugely supportive.
I was following him and the Science Babe. She is fun to listen to sometimes when she goes off on a rant too.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and so, you know, it really, you know, that's the great thing I think about science is that it doesn't matter who's giving the information as long as it's good information.
Yeah, and for the most part, that's true, but you kind of have to make a name for yourself before people take you seriously. And that's been a really weird experience for me, because I'm in graduate school. I have more scientific knowledge than most people, objectively speaking, just because I've been doing it longer. And before, I would tell someone I work in a hospital, they say, oh, you work in the gift shop? And now, if they've seen my page, I have a whole new kind of tone. Like if I go give a talk on GMOs and there's a Q&A afterwards, the kinds of questions people ask me are different. It's a weird sort of respect that other graduate students, same level or higher than me, they might know more than me, but because they don't have a name to fall back on, people don't listen to them quite the same way.
Okay. How can an average numbskull like me that, you know, has a basic understanding, how can we be more involved in helping educate people too? Because I really get tired of seeing people get taken in by woo, and in a lot of cases spend a lot of money on stuff that's either not working or is dangerous. You know, so what can we do?
I think that the best thing to do is to talk about, for example, genetically modified crops. Talk about them like it's not a big deal. Like if you talk about something if you say that GMOs are safe to be contrary to someone says that they're dangerous, say in your Facebook feed, you just post an article about how they're actually safe or how they have these great potential. If you kind of normalize the technology, I find that that is a strategy that works a lot better than, say, outright confronting your hippie friend from high school who's